Okay, so one of my students has requested that I make an analysis of visiting hours. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. So just take out your jotters or whatever you take notes on and get ready. I'm gonna quickly break down to you sort of visiting hour overall and what the themes are. And then I'm gonna give you some examples of key quotes and some basic analysis that you can use in those key quotes. Okay, so big picture, what is visiting hour about? Visiting hour is about the speaker, MacCaig. It's about the speaker's visit to a hospital in order to see their loved one before they pass away. Okay, myself a bit bigger. So it's about going to visit their loved one before they pass away and sort of describing what it's like being in the hospital and describing what that moment is like, sort of near the end where the loved one is passing or has passed. Okay, in terms of the key themes are the theme of death, the theme of illness, and the theme of loss of relationships. Okay, so go ahead and write that down. And in terms of the key characters, there are two. There's the speaker, okay, the one that's narrating the poem, the one that's speaking the poem, okay, and the also there is the loved one. So the speaker, okay, and the loved one, the patient, yeah, the one that's dying. Okay, now along with this, there's also some side characters or some secondary characters. These are the nurses, okay, and then the other sort of characters are the patients, the other patients in the hospital. They aren't really mentioned apart from the corpse, but you can sort of picture them being there, like in the background, basically. Okay, now in terms of the function of the poem, okay, what is the poem? What does the poem do as by itself? What does the poem achieve? What does it do? The function of the poem, okay, is it immortalizes the person that it speaks about. It gives her life after she has passed away. And it does this in a very similar way to what Shakespeare did in his sonnet. So this is something that you can talk about and it should like improve your mark. So in Shakespeare's sonnet, one of his sonnet, I think this is sonnet 18, he talks about, yes, here we go. Nor shall death brag you wander in his shade, when in eternal lines to time there grow, as long as men can breathe or eyes to see, so long lives this. Gives life to thee. Okay, in a very fancy way, what that's saying basically is as long as people read this poem, then you're going to be alive, yeah, because they're going to mention you, they're going to talk about you. So MacCaig does the same thing for the person who's passed away for his loved one. Same thing, yeah. It immortalizes the person, the patient who's being spoken about. Okay, now just to give you some sort of context or to give you sort of a picture of what the poem is talking about, where it's based, just imagine he's walking through the hospital. Okay, this is sort of the beginning of the poem in all the parts and all of sort of this. All of this basically takes place as he's walking through the hospital. Okay, and then sort of the end of the poem looks something like this. You can see that she's got like tubes in her arms, and she's close to death, or she is in the process of dying. You can picture MacCaig or the speaker sort of being by her side, sort of helping her to get through those like last stages of life. Okay, so that's like sort of the context of the poem. All right. Now in terms of your key quotes, okay, so here you go. I'm gonna give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I give you 7. Now in terms of your key quotes, okay, for your Scottish text, you only need 6. You need to memorize 6. So remember in your Scottish text with 10 marker, you have your commonality section, which is 2 marks, and then you have your quotes from the extract, which is 2 marks, just makes 4. And then you need 6 quotes from elsewhere. So you need to memorize 6 quotes from each poem, essentially. Okay, so here are your key quotes. We begin with the hospital smell. Okay, word choice, focus on the word smell. I'll try to choose like the easiest ones that you can memorize. So focus on the idea that the connotations of smell are sort of bad or strong fragrance. Yeah, scent, fragrance, that kind of idea. And it gives an indication of what's to come, that there's a bad smell in the beginning because people are ill, people are sick, or because of the chemicals that are used to try and fight the illnesses, fight the death. And so it gives you an indication that what's to come is also something similar, i.e. that his loved one is ill and his loved one is sick, his loved one is dying, basically. Okay, the next is green and yellow, sickly colors, and sort of similar to above, indication that the hospital is a place where people are sick, people are not well. Same thing, yeah, it gives you an idea that the loved one is also sick, not well, going to die, all of that, yeah? Okay, next one is the word corpse. Again, word choice. Now this explicitly links to death. The word corpse means a dead body. It links to death or dead people, indicates very clearly, again, loved one is going to die. People are dying in the hospital. People don't really make it, at least the way it's told. People are not necessarily becoming healthy in this hospital. They're dying. Therefore, she's also going to die soon. Okay, and if you want sort of additional point, if you want an additional point to make, you could say that the tone of this it creates like a sad tone, or it creates a tone of very powerful negative emotion, that he knows no matter what he does, his loved one is going to pass away. Something like that, yeah? Okay, and that links perfectly to what comes next. I will not feel, I will not feel. So here we do sentence structure, and we do repetition, which highlights what's repeated. Remember, when you do sentence structure, you give the type and then give the function, and then you explain the quote, yeah? Explain the quote, basically in your own words. What does the quote mean? What does it say? So it suggests that the speaker is going through a lot of intense emotions, but he's trying hard to hold them back. And he's only going to release these emotions once his loved one has passed away. He doesn't want to break down before that happens. He wants to be kind of like strong for her. He wants to be able to support her, etc., etc. You get the point, yeah? Okay, now speaking of supporting things, now we go and we have a quote about the nurses miraculously carrying their burden of so much pain. Zoom in on the word miraculously, word choice, relates to magically or amazingly or unexpectedly. It suggests that the nurses physically, they don't look like they'd be able to handle so much weight in terms of the pain, so much trauma. So you could either use, again, word choice here, or you could okay, actually just use word choice, it's more simple. So they don't look like they'd be able to carry so much weight, and so the speaker is very amazed. He's very impressed by what they're able to do in terms of dealing with the trauma on a daily basis, dealing with the death, etc., etc. So he's basically praising the nurses here. Okay, next quote is Cave of Forgetfulness. We zoom in on the word cave, word choice. You could also use a metaphor. Okay, the metaphor would be cave, would be the metaphorical word representing her hospital room, or her current situation is cave-like. Okay, and a cave is a dark place, a cold place, a hard place in terms of physically. It's the stones on the rocks and everything are hard, but also it's a difficult place in terms of difficult to get out of once you get in. Okay, and then this suggests that the patient feels cold, her sight is becoming dark, also suggests she's going through something difficult, as if she were trapped in a cave. If you wanted to zoom in on the word forgetfulness here, also you could link that she's losing her memory and so on and so on and so on. Okay, now finally, in terms of quotes, you have books that will not be read, word choice, the word read, to look over, to reflect, to learn from, to focus on, which suggests that the patient's items, once she's passed away, that all of her personal belongings and valuable things will be lost, okay, and no one will pay attention to them, and that she too would have been forgotten, and people would not have spoken about her had the poet, had the speaker not created this poem, had the poet not made the poem, then she would have been forgotten. But because he has made the poem, now she's read about and will be read about so long as the poem is read. Okay, so those are your key quotes and sort of the basic explanation or analysis with them. Now, final thing, in terms of your 10 marker, combine this poem okay, with Aunt Julia, and that too has very similar themes. Most the primary sort of themes in terms of similarity is theme of loss or theme of death. In that too is the loss of someone sort of close to MacCaig. In this case, it's his aunt. Yeah, so that's what you combine. Excuse me. This is what you would combine your analysis of this poem in terms of your 10 marker. You would combine it with that. Okay, so that's a quick analysis of visiting hour. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. And yeah, good luck. Bye.